Bristol, a city divided by postcodes, where back-and-forth violence has become the norm. But what could lead to the brutal attack on two innocent boys who had simply stepped out for a pizza? This is the tragic story of Max and Mason, teenagers with no ties to the conflict, no reason to be targets. Yet, in a devastating twist of mistaken identity, they were stabbed to death, caught in a war they never chose, victims of a world they didn't belong to. On January 27th, 2024, a 17-year-old boy was driving through Bristol in his Toyota Aygo with a few friends on their way to McDonald's. But one wrong turn changed everything. Lost and unfamiliar with the area, he found himself on a quiet road. Then, out of nowhere, a masked teenager stepped into the street, flagging down the car. The driver cautiously lowered his window, but what followed was sudden and savage. The masked boy launched a violent attack, slamming the car before drawing a menacing Rambo-style knife. He struck the vehicle again, then lunged through the open window, stabbing the driver multiple times. Wounds to the arm, the leg, deep cuts across his right hand and middle finger, severing tendons, damaging nerves. An ordinary night out turned into a nightmare. The attacker, a 16-year-old boy we'll refer to as Josh due to legal reasons, was only just beginning his spree of senseless violence. Josh was deeply embedded in an ongoing postcode war tearing through Bristol, a conflict fueled mostly by teenage boys. Day after day, both petty and serious acts of violence unfolded, many slipping under the radar of the police. But on the very same day Josh attacked the Toyota driver, he and his gang crossed another line. They provoked their rivals, and now retaliation was coming. Later that day, retaliation came swiftly. Rivals turned up at the home of one of Josh's associates, armed with large machetes and full of rage. Without warning, they began hurling house bricks through the windows, shattering glass and shaking the quiet street with chaos. Inside the home, panic set in. A woman caught near one of the windows during the attack was injured, struck by flying debris as the violence unfolded just feet away. What began as a street feud was now spilling into people's homes, endangering innocent lives. Josh and his associates were furious. What happened to the home wasn't going to be forgotten or forgiven. Now, they were the ones seeking revenge. Josh, along with a 15-year-old boy we'll refer to as Kyle for legal reasons, began assembling a group for retaliation. They were joined by Anthony Snook, Kodishai Westcott, and Riley Tolliver. The gang was ready, and they knew exactly where to go. Knoll West, the area locked in a bitter postcode dispute with their own. Anthony Snook, aged 45, played a key role. He was tasked with driving the four teenagers in his Audi Q2, a vehicle provided to him through the government's mobility scheme, meant to assist the disabled. That night, it would be used for something far darker. Within an hour, the group was already in Knoll West, circling the area, hunting for the people they believed were behind the earlier attack. Meanwhile, in Knoll West, two young boys, Mason Rist and Max Dixon, had made simple plans. They were close friends, and like many nights before, they agreed to meet up to play PlayStation. Just after 11 p.m., Max arrived at Mason's home. Before settling in, the boys decided to grab a pizza. Just a short walk, nothing unusual. But as they stepped out into the night, they had no idea that danger was circling nearby. At that very moment, the gang, driven by vengeance, was roaming the area in search of rivals. As their vehicle passed by, they spotted Max and Mason walking. They believed they had found their targets. Anthony Snook pulled the car over down the road. Then the four teenage boys spilled out, armed to the teeth with knives and weapons. They charged toward the two boys. Max and Mason, completely unaware of what was coming, panicked and ran in different directions. Heartbreaking footage shows Mason sprinting, trying desperately to get back home. but he didn't make it. He was stabbed in the back and chest before collapsing to the ground. Max, already wounded, is seen running into the road as a car passes. He'd been stabbed in the right side of his torso and was bleeding heavily. Moments later, he lost consciousness. 2 innocent boys, targeted in a war they had nothing to do with. Police, paramedics, and devastated family members rushed to the scene. Mason lay just meters from his front door, face down, his body limp, scraped and bloodied from the fall. Grazes marked his ear, nose, chin, and knee as he lost consciousness. His home security camera had captured almost everything: the chaos, the fear, the final moments. By then, the gang of 5 had already fled, vanishing into the night and leaving behind a scene unlike anything emergency workers had faced before. Max's mother arrived to find her son barely clinging to life. She hadn't even known he was out until someone pulled up to her house, screaming that he'd been stabbed. The panic, the disbelief, the horror. Both boys were rushed to separate hospitals, their lives hanging by a thread. Despite every effort from doctors and medical teams, Max and Mason passed away in the early hours of the next morning within just 15 minutes of each other. After the brutal murders of Max and Mason, Codishai Westcott, one of the occupants of the home attacked earlier that day, was dropped back off at the same address by Anthony Snook. Josh was with him. Both boys stepped out of the Audi still holding their murder weapons. Every moment was being captured on the same CCTV cameras that had recorded the earlier brick attack on the house. They ran inside, weapons in hand, forgetting one crucial detail. They were being recorded by their own security system. Just moments later, cameras at the rear of the property captured another chilling scene. Bailey Westcott, Codishai's older brother, stepping into the garden. In an attempt to destroy evidence, he lit a fire and began burning the boys' clothes, the same clothes worn during the deadly attack. And in one of the most disturbing details of all, Josh and Codishai were later seen calmly eating a McDonald's breakfast just hours after taking 2 innocent lives. No remorse, no panic, just silence, flames, and fast food. It didn't take long for police to pick up the trail. Just hours after the murders, a suspicious vehicle had already been identified, the Audi Q2 driven by Anthony Snook. The net closed quickly. Before Max and Mason officially passed away, armed police had already descended on Snook's home. There was nowhere to run. It was already over for him.
Snook, can you just listen to my colleague a minute? Is that okay?
Hello. So the circumstances have now changed. So I'll be placing you under arrest for murder, 1 count of murder. So you don't have to say anything, but it may harm your defence if you do not mention when questioned something which you later rely on in court. Anything you do say may be given in evidence. Okay. So the circumstances are still the same. Your vehicle was linked to where the stabbing has taken place, and subsequently someone has been murdered. All right. So the necessities are for prompt and effective investigation, protect vulnerable person, protect from further offences. All right? Okay.
We're just going to carry on to custody now,
yeah,
okay?
We'll carry on to custody. All right? Before we get out, you're further arrested for another count of murder, okay? So you don't have to say anything, but it may harm your defence if you do not mention when questioned something which you later rely on in court. Anything you do say may be given in evidence, okay? So you're under arrest for 2 counts of murder now.
Shortly after, 15-year-old Kyle was arrested. The walls were closing in. Within just a few days, police had identified every individual involved in the brutal attack. Their movements, their weapons, their attempts to cover it up, all unraveled by evidence and CCTV. The investigation had reached its turning point. Now, it was time to bring them all down, one by one.
Okay, righty. Listen, fella then. Alright, so time is 6:13 in the evening. At the moment in time, you're under arrest on suspicion of murder. You do not have to say harm defence. You do not mention one question. So you later to anything you do say maybe begin evidence. Just listen. All right.
Yes, of course, Captain.
So just give you some further details. All right.
Yeah.
So intelligence is received naming you along with others as being responsible for the murders of Max, Dixon and Mason Rist on Saturday 27th of January 2014 at around 2300. Alright, you're already under a caution. Alright, necessity is for a prompt and effective, prevent your disappearance, for searching, and also you need to be interviewed.
Yeah.
Do you quite know that?
No. Oh, just by the front door.
You happy we tell on that why you've been arrested? You happy we explain to you now?
This one.
We'll sort that, yeah? Alright. You just need, you happy we explain to you now? Because she's obviously really upset. You're happy with that, yeah? Okay.
You got anything on you that's going to harm me or you? You've got
No, can I have a go on my puff bar before I go down?
Let's see what it is first.
It's just a
no,
puff
fellas.
bar.
Can't
I?
mate, honestly, in all honesty,
It's just blue badge cherry.
I know, but I don't know if it's
Nicotine.
that. And then, in all honesty, the last thing I need to do is start causing issues. All right, so I don't want to come across as being difficult, fella.
You might have
All right.
cannabis or something in there which will affect your ability then to be interviewed, that sort of stuff. So it's not, we're not very different.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I don't know what's in it. So
At the moment, you're under arrest on suspicion of murder. You don't have to say anything. May harm your defence. You don't mention one question, second later on in court. Anything you do say may be given evidence.
Alright. So just me explain to you a bit further what's going on, alright? So you're currently wanted for the murder of Mason Rist and Max Dixon on the 27th of January 2024 in Ilminster Avenue in Bristol, okay? So you're under arrest on suspicion of murder. Information we received that you were involved in an incident on Ilminster Avenue, South Bristol on the 27th of January 2024.
By now, all 5 males involved in the attack were under arrest and facing serious charges. During the arrest of Kodishai Westcott, police recovered a crucial piece of the puzzle, his household security footage, which became a vital part of the investigation. But that wasn't all. Inside the property, officers discovered a 68-centimeter-long black machete with a serrated edge, along with blood-stained joggers. Both Max's and Mason's DNA were found on them. The evidence was undeniable. Anthony Snook, aged 45, who had driven the group that night, tried to claim he was unaware of their plan, but the jury saw through it. They rejected his defense and found him guilty of murder. He was sentenced to life in prison with a minimum term of 38 years. Kodishai Westcott, age 17, was also jailed for life. He must serve at least 23 years and 44 days. Riley Tolliver, aged 18, received a life sentence with a minimum term of 23 years and 47 days. Kyle, just 15 at the time and protected by anonymity, was given life with a minimum of 15 years and 229 days. And Josh, age 16, whose identity is also legally hidden, was sentenced to life with a minimum of 18 years and 44 days. He has since pleaded guilty to stabbing the Toyota driver earlier that same day and will be sentenced separately for that attack. Bailey Westcott, aged 23, the older brother of Kodishai, was also brought to justice. For his role in attempting to destroy evidence, including burning clothing in the back garden, he was sentenced to 5 years and 3 months in prison.
These animals took away a son, a brother, a nephew, an uncle and a grandchild. And we must now navigate the rest of our lives without our puzzle piece.
Today's outcome doesn't change the fact that 2 families go home without their boys. But we can now hopefully begin to process that and remember them both and the happy memories that both families have of Max and Mason. I need to thank everyone that's been involved in our case. I have so much respect for the hard work, dedication and support to our families. There are no words to express how thankful I am to everyone. I will be forever grateful to them. It's just, I wish we didn't have to be here today, but we've got some sort of justice for our boys. So thank you, everybody.
But the disrespect didn't end on the streets. Kodishai Westcott, even while inside a young offenders institution, showed no remorse. He gained illegal access to a mobile phone and began promoting his rap videos online. In a twisted display of arrogance, he allegedly bragged about the murders in some of his posts, knowing full well he had taken part in the killing of 2 innocent boys. It was a sickening reminder of the mindset behind the violence, where taking lives became a story to tell, not a tragedy to regret. Two innocent boys lost their lives in a war they had nothing to do with. Max Dixon and Mason Rist were simply out for pizza, yet became the victims of senseless violence fueled by pride, postcode, and petty revenge. Their deaths shook a community, exposed the brutal reality of youth crime, and reminded us all how quickly lives can be stolen in the name of nothing. This wasn't just a story about knives or gangs, it was a story about choices, about failures, and about the innocent caught in the crossfire. Let their names be remembered not for how they died, but for who they were, two young boys full of life, gone far too soon. This is the story of Max and Mason,